No, to your point, exactly. I really like Registeel with Protect Shields in this matchup because there's not a lot of fast attack pressure. We're coming at you fast with game number 1 here. We've got our Defense Form Deoxys in the lead versus Registeel.
Unfortunately for Registeel, he will be taking super effective damage from the counter on the Deoxys Defense Form. So we see the Altaria swap in using Dragon Breath to deal some damage, but here comes that Psycho Boost from the Deoxys, going to do a ton of damage at the cost of its own attack, which means that Carissa should be able to pivot out, and what better counter to Altaria than the Azumarill?
I'm telling you, going right to that Azumarill, this is one of the matchups we called out. Azumarill's in this matchup. You might think Altaria's a fierce Pokemon, right? But Azumarill, as you saw there, is all smiles. Loves this matchup here. Actually running Hydro Pump and Play Rough. The Play Rough will get the job done here, but Ice Beam would have been even more devastating.
Yeah, an interesting pivot for sure, and something that a lot of trainers have been experimenting with. Instead of bringing Ice Beam, bringing that Hydro Pump, takes a little bit longer to get there, but just does more damage in return. We see Altaria's charged attack connect with that Azumarill. It's not going to do a lot of damage though, and this Play Rough is more than enough to pick up the KO in return.
I just want to point out how well Carissa is managing her HP here, because she allowed the 2 charge attacks to come through from the Altaria, but this Azumarill is way outside of lock-on down range. It's definitely going to get to the Hydro Pump here, and it's going to force DvSheriff to throw a charge attack.
Yeah, one of the benefits to running Hydro Pump, does super effective damage to the Galarian Stunfisk, and does great neutral damage to the Registeel, which otherwise Azumarill would really struggle against. That's a very significant chunk there as damage, and as a result, the Kommo-o should be able to come in and possibly even just knock out with its fast attacks, depending on how much longer the Azumarill stays on the field. It's not KO'd by the Focus Blast. It looks like DvSheriff went for a undercharge there, and now both these trainers pivot around, and it's Kommo-o versus the Shadow Swampert.
Yeah, Kommo-o just whipping those Dragon Tails at the Shadow Swampert. This is going to deal
Earthquake before throwing that Hydro Cannon a split second before the Dragon Claw. Kommo-o, though, does not protect, calls that it's not the more powerful Earthquake, does not get its KO. Swampert will throw a second Hydro Cannon here, but Carissa has shields available, but unfortunately lets the Kommo-o go.
Yeah, the Kommo-o is glorious to see, but Carissa is keeping the end game in mind. Comes in with that Defense from Deoxys, counters down the Shadow Swampert. It's only Registeel. It's got about half HP, and just like we started this game, that Defense from Deoxys dealing super effective counter damage, revealing the Thunderbolt here. DvSheriff recognizes what's happening. He's not going to protect shield. He knows that this match belongs to Carissa.
And it looks like that Thunderbolt just fell short. A single counter is enough to pick up that KO, and CarissaV1123 wins game 1 in this set.
No, honestly, Gabby, that's a beautiful point right there, because we had the Defense from Deoxys and the Kommo-o heading into game number 2.
Oh!
Kommo-o finds the Shadow Swampert yet again. Carissa dialed in here, and these Dragon Tails, just like we saw, are going to pile on the pressure.
We do see the Swampert build up to a Hydro Cannon before switching out just in time for this Registeel to catch a Dragon Claw. Not going to do a ton of damage, but Kommo-o can stick in on the field, maybe wait a few turns while the Registeel builds up to a charged attack, and swap, or even just throw a close combat straight there. Instead, will stay around for this Zap Cannon, but will Carissa shield.
I was going to say, Gabby, maybe you just stay here with Kommo-o, right? You've seen the lead Pokemon be Swampert. You know you have great neutral matchups with the Umbreon and Azumarill. Building up to the double close combats, Carissa about to unleash all this stored energy. DvSheriff is in a tough position. Safe swap Registeel was a good play, but now he needs to protect shield, because that would be a lot of super effective damage.
There was an attack drop that came through from the Zap Cannon earlier on, and that could give this Registeel an out, but we'll have to see. DvSheriff does not want to risk it. Will make it to the Zap Cannon once again. That Kommo-o at -4 defense, I believe it was, but instead the Umbreon swapping in to take a Focus Blast and attempt to snarl down this Registeel.
Yeah, and it's a Flower Crown Umbreon to boot. This Pokemon's going to come out here and deal a lot of neutral damage with its foul plays, but it's got to throw soon. Carissa able to get the foul play off before that second Focus Blast was queued up. We also saw her trying to potentially catch a Zap Cannon there, but it doesn't make a lot of difference if you don't shield the Umbreon, because 2 charge attacks will secure the knockout regardless. This gets tough though, because now the foul play comes through and you do not absorb a lot of damage on Shadow Swampert without paying for it.
I was going to say that Swampert swapping in just in time to make that catch will build up all the way to 2 Hydro Cannons, so it does have a ton of attack power to throw. Will 1 Hydro Cannon be enough, though, to try and fight his way back? It is that Umbreon is knocked out. There is just Kommo-o and 1 more Pokemon on Carissa's side of the field remaining.
Shadow Swampert with a lot of energy. Dragon Tail does come through, doesn't get the knockout, going for the Earthquake at the last second. We saw Carissa be so judicious with her shields in game 1, and she does the same thing here. Gonna let the Kommo-o go and try to close this game out with the Azumarill.
Swampert should be knocked out with 1 more fast attack from this Azumarill, so we'll get a bit of energy. Registeel is in the red. That's Purified Sableye on DvSheriff's side of the field is still at full health, but Azumarill should have a pretty decent advantage here. Carissa will have to shield this Zap Cannon, and assuming we do not see another attack drop come through, Play Rough is going to be so critical against the Sableye, but the attack drop happened.
Yeah, this is tough, right? I think the Zap Cannon shield makes so much sense, but now the Azumarill's a little bit hobbled. There's no switch outs here. Carissa is just down to this final Pokemon. Does throw the Play Rough against the Sableye. I think DvSheriff needed to catch a charge attack somewhere. He succeeded, but I think exiting this matchup with energy is going to be the difference maker for Carissa, because if not, she will get outpaced by the Registeel.
We see a Play Rough thrown exactly on the charge attack priority event, but Sableye does win it as its attack stat is higher. Foul Play will connect with that Azumarill, but it just doesn't do much damage. The second Play Rough will come through, will pick up the knockout on Sableye. If she does not undercharge this attack, it will just pick up that knockout, so it's all down to how many turns it takes, but the Registeel already had the Zap Cannon ready to go. This will connect with the Azumarill, and I think it's gonna be close. It is enough for the knockout.
Azumarill just gets barely KO'd there. DvSheriff managing his Registeel energy perfectly to queue up that Zap Cannon and shock that Azumarill right out of the game. And like we talked about before the series began, I do think that Registeel with Protect Shields is very tough for Carissa to manage.
Here we go, game number 3, and it's the defense Deoxys versus the Registeel from DvSheriff. He will be sticking around on the field for a couple of turns. Looks like he's trying to figure out just how much energy he wants to exit this matchup with. Decides to straight throw a Zap Cannon into this Deoxys defense form. No shields from Carissa.
We're seeing how DvSheriff adapts here. If you remember in game 1, he switched out immediately, trying to catch a charge attack there on the Medicham. Carissa goes for a little bit of chip damage here with a Psycho Boost, but again, her attack did drop due to the Zap Cannon. So we're going to see the switch in here in just a moment, but the question is, which Pokemon does she choose? She goes with the Azumarill here, which definitely changes the end matchup, because as we can see, Purified Sableye is lurking in the back for DvSheriff.
Yeah, she has to be very careful with how much damage this Azumarill takes, and letting the Psychic connect already is not a great start, and a defense drop as well. I don't know how many Poffins DvSheriff fed his team going into this tournament, but they are just on the ball. DvSheriff using a shield to block the first Play Rough from this Azumarill, but if this next Psychic connects, will take a couple of turns to build up to more energy, throwing just before the charge attack priority event. Carissa needs to shield this attack, but instead she just lets it go.
She trusts in her Azumarill even after the defense drop gets to the Play Rough here. Do we see the final Protect Shield from DvSheriff? He's going to think about it. He's just got 1 second to decide, and he does decide to shield the Medicham here. Going to use that fast attack counter pressure to try to make more headway in this matchup, but he's already down 0 to 2 shields.
He's making an instant swap, though, into the Sableye as soon as the Deoxys takes the field. Thunderbolt thrown into the Sableye for some nice neutral damage. I think the big question is, though, will this Deoxys defense form get to another attack? But Kommo-o swaps in. Look at how much damage those Dragon Tails are doing. The Sableye will get to a foul play, but Carissa still has 2 shields remaining. She needs to start shielding her Pokemon, and there it is.
Absolutely, Carissa building up so much energy as well. I think we might even see a Kommo-o triple sweep here. Dragon Tails KOing the Purified Sableye. We've got Medicham, we've got Registeel, no Protect Shields in sight, waiting for his switch timer. DvSheriff is just not going to get there in time because he switched earlier. Look, his Medicham still has at least 15 seconds. This Kommo-o is going to land the close combat.
Almost at 2 close combats even. Possibly will have enough for a Dragon Claw after this. Its first attack connects. It's a knockout on the Registeel. There comes the Dragon Claw. Back-to-back attack. Back-to-back knockouts for Kommo-o as Carissa found her opening. We'll have to take a couple more seconds here, and there is even an ice punch there for DvSheriff, but knows that this game is over. CarissaV1123 moving on undefeated in day one.
Carissa might need to change her first letter of her name to a K for Kommo-o. That was such an incredible series there, winning the 2-1 set against DvSheriff with one of the most unique picks that we've ever seen at a Championship Series event. Very incredible place there.